Howdy folks, I'm Kidman and welcome to another episode of YMS versus the Internet. On today's topic we're going to go on Black Panther versus. We're going to go to the Internet and see what kind of people Black Panther will be fighting today in our video. So let's see here, our top three contenders are Black Panther versus Batman, Black Panther versus Wolverine, Black Panther versus Jaguar. That's probably the actual animals, so we're going to skip that one. We're going to go down to Black Panther versus Iron Man. So let's begin this subject with Black Panther versus Batman and see what people online have to say about this argument. Alright, don't kill me if this has been done before. This person writes, both characters have 12 hours prep time. They each have access to all the technologies at their disposal. The fight takes place in an arena. Could the Dark Knight take Black Panther, he proposes. Batman fans, keep in mind that T'Challa is at least as intelligent as Wayne and is wearing his vibranium suit. Alright, so we got the grounds for this person's particular fight. We'll see what people have to say about it. The next post says, prove that Black Panther is as smart as Wayne. Now, they're not in the same universe, one being DC, one being Marvel, but Black Panther is within the top 10, easily one of the top 10 smartest people in Marvel. And you can make arguments that Batman may be the smartest person in DC, although I wouldn't make him number one. So I'm pretty sure them both being within the top 10 of their respective universes means that they can keep track of each other, regardless of what the type of competition is. So let's skip on to the next person. The next person says, as replying to prove that Black Panther is as smart as Wayne. Black Panther is considered an intellectual equal to Reed Richards and Dr. Doom. Not sure about that, but we'll keep that in the sideline. Bruce Wayne is a brilliant detective, but I have never seen him show himself to be as intellectual as someone like Reed Richards. I believe that they both, albeit not as smart as Reed Richards and Dr. Doom, both can compete with Reed Richards and Dr. Doom, so I would say that they're still intellectual equals. The next post says, I feel ya. But I see Richards and Dr. Doom as science guys. Wayne is like an ultimate detective tactics guy. To me, it's kind of like why Cap would beat Stark 9 out of 10 times. Yeah, Stark is a genius, but a fight is different. I am Bat fan. Wow, English. I am Bat fan, and I don't like the whole Batman factor, only when used for fun. But I don't see DC's most dangerous man on the planet who's taken down the whole GLA losing to a Marvel mid-card. What? No disrespect to BP, so we're gonna skip this guy. The next guy says Black Panther. Obviously he's saying Black Panther would win. The next person after that says Black Panther would win. Craven again says prove why Black Panther is as smart as Wayne. Black Panther is considered an hey Craven, who is Joe? Alright, we're going to skip that one. No real arguments are being made here. I think it would be an interesting fight. I get what you're saying about intellect types, but remember that BP is a warrior king. He is well versed in tactics and military strategy. I think the killer is his vibranium. It can cut through Batman's armor. BP has access to a Wakandan tech, which is possibly the most advanced in the world. He has anti-metal that can dissolve all of Batman's gadgets. And this is very true. The type of adamantium that has fallen within, or I should say vibranium, the meteor that fell into Wakanda is anti-metal, and it's called that because when it comes into contact with another metal, it will dissolve through it, kind of like, you know, a hot knife through butter. That's just how it reacts with other metals, so it becomes a superior grade of metal. And the only thing that can really penetrate that type of vibranium is more vibranium, depending upon the amount of force imbued into each one. Vibranium's reaction with other things, mostly impact, is that it will absorb the kinetic energy and then it can release it later on, depending upon how it's used. This has been done. Black Panther wins. Okay, Static Shock, that's cool that you say that, but I don't know where you're getting that from. Okay, that guy just says thanks. Black Panther, I believe Batman would win. Batman always has whatever he needs in his utility belt. Alright, we're going to jump away from the internet and I'm going to talk about this now. Now in Black Panther versus, let's see, I'll use purple here, versus Batman. Black Panther versus Batman. Yes, both of them are incredibly intelligent in their own rights. Both of them are military strategists, tactics beyond anyone else can believe. Both of them have gone to extreme lengths for universities and whatnot, have their PhDs, both have great political ties, but that's not really what's going to determine, the political ties at least, is not going to determine who wins in a fight. Now, at least for what that guy said in determining how much prep time they have for their fight, prep time is going to make this really difficult because they're both going to try and outplan the other one. That's just the kind of people who they are. So if we're going to look at between two think tanks who will win, it's really going to come down to whichever one is going to try and use the other one's weakness against them. When you have two think tanks, it's going to be like a game of chess in which they're going to be moving their pawns across the board and whatnot, but they're going to start off with, at least for these two people who are both incredibly wealthy, they're going to start with the same amount of material going into this. So it's going to be whoever utilizes the other one's weaknesses or identifies the other one's weaknesses faster or uses that leverage better. So let's talk about the different weaknesses that T'Challa has. T'Challa has an entire country, and I'm not saying that Batman is going to go so low as to threaten his entire country, but he does have a country to look after in the grand scheme of things. So any of those people, any of those countrymen in Uganda are possible leverage that Batman can use. Moving over to Batman, Batman has the Bat family, which are the people that he finds closest to him, along with some of the Justice League members. But it'd be a lot more difficult to get a hold of them than the average countryman Joe from Uganda. Moving on to that, both people have a lot of instincts about where power should be placed and who's handling it. And so if you were to take into instance one of them giving someone important to them a certain amount of power, they might become upset about that, and then they could use that against each other. But in this one, in terms of leverage, I believe Batman would have the ability to put more leverage onto Black Panther than Black Panther could put onto Batman. Now, in an actual fight, they're both really good combatants. Both learned a lot. And I don't know if anyone really has the edge over the other one. Perhaps Batman knows more martial arts than Black Panther does, but the number of martial arts doesn't really matter. It's how effectively you can utilize them. Now, Batman's been called the master of all martial arts. Now, that does matter because that means he's very proficient at everything, and he can come up with a lot of tactics. Black Panther, not necessarily knowing all different martial arts, has a lot of martial arts to his disposal that can deal with a lot of the problems that he comes into. Now let's talk about their different equipment. Black Panther has energy daggers, he's got vibranium claws, the suit which has everything in it, including short-range teleporters. Wrap your mind around that one, for instance. Now Batman, you know, joking around with Batman, he has anything that he could ever want in his belt. And if we're talking about prep time, then either one's going to bring whatever type of material they want to this. So like I said before, this is really going to come down to which one can leverage the other one's weaknesses, and I believe it would be a lot more difficult for Black Panther to talk about Batman's parents, which is probably his weakest point, versus Batman bringing in the normal average civilian Joe from Uganda. So in terms of a fight, and if we bring in like all things considered, I think Batman would win. So in a fight of Black Panther versus Batman, I'm going to give the fight to Batman. Let's move on now to the next person. Alright, next on there is Black Panther versus Wolverine. Let's dive into this and see what the internet has to say between these two combatants. Wolverine versus Black Panther. This person proposes the battle is obviously to the death. The second post says Black Panther can kill him, but he doesn't carry anything on him that would keep him dead. Wolverine would win eventually. Now that's a phenomenal idea right there, because in the end, yes, when you have a regenerative ability that Wolverine possesses, no matter how many times you get killed, he'll just come back. And his stamina is not infinite, but the fact that he can regenerate means that it'll always be coming back, so that he can keep fighting T'Challa until T'Challa just drops dead from stamina. However, my rebuttal for that is that T'Challa is an ingenious level intellect. He's going to find a way to keep Wolverine down, or keep him incapacitated, or even lock him away so he becomes a non-threat. So in the end, saying that this battle is going to be decided by healing factor is not going to work for me. I'd say that T'Challa is too smart for a healing factor to stop him. Let's move on to the next one. We have, what do you mean? Like I just explained, that's what he means probably. What do you mean? What do I mean? Wow, people have such great conversations. Why would Wolverine eventually win? Skip on to the next one. Because he'd keep coming back. Well, we're still talking about this. No, we're not saying the Black Panther. Yeah, even if he does get the first kill, it doesn't mean that Wolverine's eventually going to win. Wolverine would totally kick it. Well, you know what? Alright, so these people are going to be talking about the same thing. Let's just go into my discussion. We're going to be talking about Black Panther versus, let's give Wolverine red. Wolverine. You would be pretty bad if I misspelled this. Now, Wolverine's a great guy, and come to think about it, Wolverine is actually a great combatant because he's had years of experience across different wars and different times in which he's actually had to fight people. Now, Wolverine doesn't necessarily employ a lot of martial art tactics rather than just being ravenous and savage for the most part, but he is a smart guy and he's been around the block a couple of times, so he does have experience underneath his belt, at least a lot more than Black Panther has. But Black Panther has taken a lot and crammed it into his life, albeit a lot shorter than Wolverine's has been. Now, as a combatant, perhaps the experience point goes to Wolverine, but as a superior fighter, we might say that Black Panther is because he's strategically and tactically better at fighting. Now, we could say that Wolverine is stronger, but Black Panther does have a lot of qualities go for him. He's eaten from the root of his people, which means when one becomes the Black Panther, you have to eat the heart-shaped root. And if you have the royal bloodline in you, you'll be able to ingest it. If you're not, it'll poison you, you might die. But if you're of the royal lineage, you can ingest it and it will enhance all of your physical capabilities several-fold. And then he got the blessing from the Panther God, which did that over again, so he's got some sort of exponential increase in all of his physical abilities. Whether or not it means he's stronger than Wolverine, I'm not entirely sure, but I would probably say that if he's got exponential increase, that he'll probably beat Wolverine. Because what Wolverine has in strength is the fact that he's lifting around an adamantium skeleton his whole life, and that's going to build some muscle when you're carrying around tons of metal inside your body. But T'Challa's is exponential, so I might have to say that the strength goes to T'Challa. Now, obviously, what a lot of this comes down to is who wins between adamantium and vibranium. Earlier I talked about how the vibranium in Uganda is able to melt through other metals. Now, adamantium, it's funny in that what it does to other metals is that either it's just flat out stronger, or it will repel them. Like, when you have adamantium on adamantium, it typically repels against each other. Neither of them win because it can't be stopped. Well, when it comes to adamantium, they'll just bounce, sparks fly, but none of them is really going to win. So what I think is going to happen is that when adamantium meets against vibranium, is that vibranium will absorb the kinetic energy, but then it will bounce off of it. And so neither one will actually penetrate the other one. Now, we've got Black Panther's suit is entirely made of, or at least woven in with vibranium. That means every time one of his claws, Wolverine's claws, were to go and strike him in his suit, it would probably just die, its momentum would be taken out, and then probably bounce off. Now that on the reverse side, every time one of his claws, one of Black Panther's claws were to try and hit across one of Wolverine's claws or his skeleton, it would bounce back too. And since it's not the one delivering the kinetic energy, or it is the one delivering the kinetic energy, it's not absorbing it, so it would just bounce off. That's all that would happen. Now, Wolverine's not wearing a suit, it's just his flesh. He's going to feel the pain from it, obviously, but it'll just regenerate. However, this battle is going to come down to both of them are physically capable of fighting each other, but one of them is clearly smarter than the other one, and that's Black Panther. So, in terms of a fight, I'm going to call this one based on their intelligence level. And so this fight between Black Panther versus Wolverine, I'm going to say goes to Black Panther. Now we're going to move on to our next combatants. Alright, next up on the Google list we've got Black Panther versus Iron Man. We're going to go ahead and skip the Black Panther versus Jaguar because they're actually talking about the legitimate animals. So, Black Panther versus Iron Man, this is obviously one that we've probably seen coming because they're both intellectual giants within the Marvel landscape. I'm not entirely sure which one is really smarter than the other one, but there are times in which Black Panther has at least outwitted Tony Stark, and perhaps vice versa, although I can't really think of a time. Both men are incredibly smart. We're looking at this person's webpage. It says, in round 1, Black Panther versus Iron Man, and whatever suits they wear normally. Alright, so in terms of normal wearing, I guess we can say that Iron Man's wearing the Mark V or maybe the Mark VI Iron Man suit, and then Black Panther's just wearing his normal Ugandan suit. Black Panther's suit is obviously more durable, although albeit more flexible, so it kind of depends. It can take impact better, but slow bending forces or pressure might hurt Black Panther a lot more than Tony Stark's suit. Also, Tony Stark's suit has a lot more features to it than the Black Panther suit, as in like pieces can fly off of it and go do their own individual tasks and then come back. So in terms of suit capability, I'd have to say that Tony Stark's suit is obviously better. In the round 2, Black Panther versus Iron Man in suit of his choosing, excluding Thor Buster. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. You can bring in Atlas, the big hulking Hulkbuster suit. I guess it doesn't really matter. Black Panther would probably lose against, I don't entirely remember what the name of it is, but it's the symbiote suit that he uses that forms over his body and allows him to uplink his cerebrum to the internet, so he becomes as intelligent as the internet has to offer, and he can search any data he wants. He also becomes, at least in agility and strength, super powerful. And if we bring that in, I understand how, unless there's prep time, if it's just a one-on-one out of nowhere fight, I don't think T'Challa is going to be able to take this one, Black Panther, because he's just too fast as a character, Iron Man. Let's look at this person's round 3. We're looking at Black Panther versus Iron Man, both with a week of prep. Now this one's interesting because they both obviously know a lot about each other. It's not that hard to find out about the King of Uganda and Tony Stark, who's actually everyone knows as Iron Man. But like I said before, when it comes to people that are super smart, it's going to be a lot about who can leverage the other one's weakness better. Tony Stark obviously has a lot of fallacies about him that can be brought up, but whether or not that's going to bug Tony Stark is going to be different in how it compares to how the weaknesses of Black Panther can be leveraged, and whether or not that's going to bug him. Like I said before, Black Panther's got an entire country that can be used as hostage in any way, even if it's just one person, whereas Tony Stark has like pepper pots, and I don't even think you can use his company against him, because it's not that he can't bring it back if it gets destroyed. So perhaps pepper pots could be kidnapped, maybe, but again, that's not something that's likely going to happen because these individuals aren't villains, and that's really a villainous kind of thing to do. In terms of resources, they're both billionaires, are incredibly rich, especially Black Panther. They have a wealth of material and whatnot that they can bring to the fight, so neither one's going to outdo the other one. I can't really say which one is smarter again, because I'm not sure where they line up. They're both, I would say that they're probably both within the top 10 of the Marvel landscape, but neither one really outshines the other one. What I believe this is going to come down to is whether or not Black Panther has the ability to prepare for the symbiote suit that I talked about earlier that Iron Man has, because that's really his clinch victory type thing. And whether or not the other one's going to be able to bring in a trump card that the other person can't deal with at any specific point within their fight. Whether or not Tony Stark's going to fire off a satellite cannon right down on top of Black Panther and Black Panther can't deal with it, or if Black Panther's going to be able to develop some sort of virus or something that can infest inside a suit and incapacitate Iron Man. In the grand scheme of things, I think this fight's going to come down to which one has just more cards that they bring to the table, and if that's the case, I'm going to give this slight advantage to Black Panther because he's just slightly more wealthy, and it's easier for him to find out about Tony than it is for Tony to find about T'Challa. So in the grand scheme of things, I believe Black Panther has the victory because he has just that much more leverage. So in the fight between, ooh, I never wrote this one down. Let's see, can we make him green? That'd be weird, something new. Black Panther versus Iron Man. In the battle between Black Panther versus Iron Man, I'm going to say that the battle goes to Black Panther. Alright. Alright folks, that's the three people that we've got on today's show. Just to recap, we had Black Panther versus Iron Man, Black Panther versus Wolverine, and Black Panther versus Batman. And how things went, at least from my aspect, I believe Batman would beat Black Panther, I believe that Black Panther would beat Wolverine, and I also believe Black Panther would beat Iron Man. But you know what, I want to hear you guys' opinions. Go ahead, go down that comment section below and give me everything that you have to say about this. I want to hear all the positives and the negatives, if you think I'm stupid or if you think I had some fair points. Also go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the bell to get more notifications from us. And as always guys, your move, Internet.